It's the beefiest show of the week. We have an in-depth preview of the Rams-Eagles game. Fran Duffy is going to tell us how he thinks Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore are going to game plan for this game. Zach's going to give us the word from the NovaCare Complex. And then Jourdan Rodrigue from The Athletic is going to tell us all about this Rams team and give us some insight on the Eagles front office. Huge show coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Welcome to the show. We've got a loaded one for a Thursday. Fran Duffy to my left, Zach Berman across the way. Later in the show, we're going to hear from Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic, one of the best beat writers in the game, but also much more than a beat writer, has some insight on the Eagles front office. Looking forward to that conversation and sharing it with you. But before that, let's talk some ball, gentlemen. Fran, how you doing?
Doing great. It feels like so long since we've had this kind of discussion because of the Thursday night football game a week ago. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited to talk through this game.
Zach, how you doing?
Doing great. Excited for the show.
All right. Now, I will say, I don't want to start with it because I think we should start football today, but I'm continuing to add to the list of good technology. I appreciate the listeners and human beings in real life who have told me. So far, I've got about 3 or 4. So I think we're growing.
What have you added?
We'll save it for later.
Save it for later.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't need to get into it. It stunts me that like being in favor of technology is a controversial opinion, but I digress. Let's talk ball.
Let's send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman, Zach, because there was some news at the NovaCare Complex yesterday.
Yes, Bryce Huff is undergoing a surgery on his left wrist today. So I'm not sure if it's this morning or this afternoon, but today.
Do you still doubt that he's injured?
I never doubted that he was injured. I never doubted.
I don't know.
No, I literally saw a cast on his hand. I never doubted he was injured. What I doubted is that was the reason for his decline in play in
snaps.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
I was saying I was skeptical that's what I was skeptical of.
I thought it was pretty fishy.
I didn't think they created an injury. I didn't think the cast on his wrist was a problem.
He didn't have the cast the first time.
No, but the past 2 games he had a cast on his wrist.
But initially.
Okay. So let's
a little fishy.
Let me continue here. Okay. So Bryce Huff, he's going to be out for some time. We don't know the exact period of time. The Eagles hope that he's back toward the end of the season in healthier form. You heard Vic Fangio's quote 2 weeks ago that his thumb had been immobilized. He was playing with he had no movement in his thumb or his palm. He had 4 fingers dangling. It's harder to play that position when it's like that. Now that said, he was playing some third downs here and there. So he had the hard cast. Even before that, though, even before the injury, he was playing.
Such a funny image, the dangling fingers.
He was playing about 30% of the snaps
like from a chandelier.
So we saw last year, for instance, with Hassan Reddick, that when Reddick was healthier, more production came. I think that's what the Eagles are hoping for. They're hoping that this alleviates some of what the issue had been. But as we outlined in previous shows and the last show, he was not lighting it up before the injury. So with him out, there's maybe 10 to 25 snaps per game that will be distributed. It could be more to Nolan Smith. I don't think it's going to be more to Josh Sweat. I don't think it's going to be a lot more to Brandon Graham. But the 4th person there would be Jalyx, someone who has impressed behind the scenes. As Bo Wolf spotted right away at practice yesterday, Jalyx was not practicing. He's dealing with an ankle injury. We will see how he progresses. I specifically asked Nick Sirianni about Jalyx Hunt before practice, and Nick said we have to see how practice goes this week. And at the time, I didn't know there was an injury he was dealing with, so that's something we'll see. But I do know from talking to players, talking to some people behind the scenes, Jalyx Hunt has impressed. There is a lot to like there with Jalyx Hunt. I think he will be the beneficiary of it. Maybe not the same snap count or snap volume, but I would imagine 10, 15 snaps.
Well, it's interesting. He played all those snaps in the Cowboys game and then didn't play
and
on
didn't play
defense against
exactly.
the Commanders.
Now there were fewer snaps overall against Washington, but still,
he went from being ahead of Huff to being behind him.
Yes. In that game too against Washington, they used that package with 3 defensive tackles and Brandon Graham up front. Yeah. So I wonder if that's something that they lean into more, a couple snaps a game as well. So that's another possibility.
Yeah, I feel like if Hunt is not able to play or is hampered, I would imagine that just means more Milton Williams, more of that package. Right.
Yeah, more Milton Williams. And then one other thing they could do is I've spoken to people behind the scenes in the building who are like, Zach Berman is more than an inside linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. He can rush around the edge. So there might be certain third downs where Zach Berman could be used in that way. And, they have either Kobie as the sole linebacker or they have to, they bring in whether it's Burks or Trott Jr. or something like that.
Or more dime.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Right. Yep. So that's one piece of news. Elsewhere, DeVonta Smith did not practice. I think this is more them kind of maintaining his status. We'll see. Now, he was limping coming off the field, but he's been taking Wednesdays off or been managing Wednesdays. So today's practice, which is happening in a few minutes, we'll get updates from our fellow beat writers. We'll give you an update there. Jalen Hurts was limited yesterday. Jalen said that this is part of kind of the team's strengthening program following the mini bye. I expect Jalen to be full participant today, full participant tomorrow, and play on Sunday. But Jalen has been injured the past 3 years at the end of the year. And so I think there is a lot of focus being paid to how they can kind of maintain something or how they can manage something that might be lingering. The other piece of news is Britton Covey's practice window open. So if, in fact, Bryce Huff goes in IR, Britton Covey could take that spot, or they could sign CJ Uzomah to the 53 because they need a third tight end.
Right. We don't need to do that yet, though.
Yeah, CJ has 2 more practice squad elevations ahead of him. We know the way Vic Fangio feels about Cooper DeJean returning punts. Cooper's such an important part of the defense.
Do you think when Covey's healthy, he just takes that job back?
I would think so. The Eagles like Covey there. Something Michael Clay said is it helps to have 2 guys because you can use different guys in different roles. So maybe that's something that they do. There's certain returns where they have Covey. There's certain returns where they have DeJean. And then just one other kind of anecdote from yesterday that I found interesting was Nick Sirianni, his Wednesday team meeting, he used Darius Slay's career as like the vehicle for discussing adversity and overcoming adversity, like playing adversity. I'm not saying off the field stuff. And he spoke to Slay about clips from Slay's rookie year to use. And Slay's been honest, like he got benched by Jim Schwartz twice, he said. And then Jim Schwartz was the one pounding the table to trade for him a few years later. And he talked about how everyone's journey is a little bit different. And, Nick had film from Slay's rookie year. Slay says he has a great memory. He recalls every play of his career. So he was able to tell Nick like the certain plays to pick out. I think there was a play with Adrian Peterson rushing for a long touchdown where Slay missed a tackle on. And then there was another play where he might have gotten a hand on the ball and DeAndre Levy got the interception. But anyways.
Great name, DeAndre Levy.
Yeah.
Forgot about him.
I think he pronounced it Levy, though. I think it's, I could be wrong.
All right. I'm going to take your word for it. On the pronunciation.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a good one. True. Don't take my word for it.
Let me consult Google AI.
Yes.
Let's see what they
No, I see what you did there. And so those are some of the news and notes.
Levi DeAndre.
What's that?
It's actually Levi DeAndre.
It's not. So that's some of the news and notes from Novacare.
Okay. And you can, of course, read more about all of that on allphly.com if you are a diehard. What is our our super chat here from Fresh Prince. He says, update, I put my 2-year-old daughter to bed Tuesday night, and I asked her if she knew that comparison is the thief of joy. She said, yes, Daddy, good night.
Zach, I was watching from home, just dying. Like, almost fell out of my chair in my office. Just outstanding work.
Comparison, yeah. I have said that to Reed because
yes, Daddy, good night.
We do talk a lot about don't compare to this person. You know, there's always someone better, someone worse. Just, you know, the race is with yourself. So comparison is the thief of joy.
Pro Football Reference says DeAndre Levy. So there you go. Good you.
I think I was wrong at one point calling it Levy, and I got corrected, and therefore I know it's Levy.
There you go.
There you go. All right, Fran.
Bo.
Let's talk about the Rams.
Let's do it.
Let's start. I think most of the juiciest matchups for the Eagles these days are their defense against the opposing offense. So let's start with the Los Angeles offense. Now, heavy motion. But the like identity of what we imagine as a Sean McVay team from like the beginning of his coaching career, like all 11 personnel, all outside zone stuff. It's not that anymore. What is their identity on offense?
Yeah, I mean they still lean into 11 personnel. Obviously, they're second in the league right now in 11 personnel usage. Motion, bunches, play action. A lot of the bones are still there. The big change is a lot of the run action with like Todd Gurley was all like outside zone, stretch action, where that's where you saw Todd Gurley, let's say, working on an outside run to the right, and then Jared Goff is bootlegging out to the left. That is not necessarily what you're seeing now with Matthew Stafford. It's much more, like downhill play action. They've morphed into more of like a downhill like duo run team over these last couple of years. That's something that Kyren Williams has shown to be really effective at running. And so you're seeing a lot more like constriction in terms of where the pocket is. It's not as much like the side to side stuff. But look, this is a really well constructed offense. They put a ton of stress on you from a zone coverage standpoint, where basically what they want to do, every single play, they're going to try and put you in a bind. They want to attack players that have dual conflict. And so at the second level, linebackers, nickels, safeties, if you've got a run responsibility and a pass responsibility in coverage, they want to target somebody on every play. And they're saying, okay, we're going to make you wrong. And it's not even necessarily like, oh, like this is the guy we're going to target because he's not good. It's this is the guy that we're going to put the most stress on. And he can't cover both of these receivers and defend the run. Let's make him wrong on this given play. That's what they do at a really high level.
It's interesting because the identity of this matchup for like opposing defenses is like the Rams offensive line, not very good.
Yep.
Can get beaten. But boy, are they going to put you in a bind at the second level. And for so long, for the Eagles to be like, okay, like this is going to be on the defensive line. They got to win because otherwise they're just going to get killed at the second level. Now, because that's where the Eagles are strong, I don't know. It's going to be it's almost good on good.
Yes, it's going to be really fun to see how these guys are able to react, because this is a whole different test. You know, when we were talking last week against Washington, the test was, all right, you have to contain Jaden Daniels. That's got to be the number one thing, and you have to worry about what he can do with his legs. That's not an issue with Matthew Stafford. He has not run one time on a scramble all season, so that is not what you're worried about.
And his numbers when he's pressured are bad.
But yes, and he has like really plummeted this year. I mean, he has not been good under pressure this year. You can almost tell, like watching, because like this was a team that was hammered by injuries. You could tell he's just like, yeah, I'm 40 years old. I'm not getting hit. We're not doing this. I'm going to save myself when my guys get healthy. But I mean, he is just getting like, when he's feeling pressure, that ball is coming out, and it's coming out fast. That's why like the QB hit numbers and the pressure numbers from a volume standpoint aren't really there. But my guess is if you were to look at like ESPN, Seth Waller, they do those like the pass rush win rates. Like my guess is that their pass pro win rates are very low. That would be my guess, is that you're seeing guys get beat, but it's not resulting in pressures because the ball just comes out fast and erratic at times from Matthew Stafford. But I think the big thing will be like the skill talent now is fully healthy. And when you have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams, Matthew Stafford out in the field all together, this has been the most prolific offense in football over the last two seasons. The numbers, when you look at, I pulled this yesterday, they are number one in yards per play, explosive play rate, and EPA per play when Stafford, Kupp, Puka, and Kyren are all on the field. All of those numbers lead the NFL. So that's ahead of Jalen and AJ in this group. That's ahead of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in that group. Ahead of what do they call the San Francisco, the death lineup in San Francisco, like ahead of all of those groups.
When Juszczyk's out there, you better be worried.
But that's the thing though, is that when you have this offense, and look, the 2 of the last 4 weeks they've had the best this offense has looked. Last week it was a season high in yards per play and efficiency, 4 touchdowns for Stafford in that game. So this is an offense now that these guys are healthy and the offensive line is starting to bounce back as well from a health standpoint. It's a big test for the Eagles.
It's interesting. I was looking at their numbers from without having both guys healthy.
Yep.
And with having both guys healthy, it's 5-5 for this game this year. And on the course, on the whole of the season, they are like a second quartile offense in everything, right? They're 12th in DVOA, 11th in passing DVOA, 15th in rushing DVOA.
Yep.
If you look at it like EPA per drive and success rate, without those guys, they are 13th in EPA per drive and 8th in success rate.
Okay.
But when you flip it and they have those guys, they are less consistent.
Yep.
The success rate drops, but the EPA per drive moves up. So it's as if without those guys, Stafford's like, all right, I just got to live play by play, get my chunks, get my 4 or 5 yards. Whereas when he has Kupp and Nakua, he can afford to put his eyes downfield and search for bigger plays.
Yeah, I do wonder too, like if there were certain games that kind of threw that off too, where from a success rate standpoint, again, going back to last week and just watching that film from week 11, that offense was humming. Like I think that's what they pictured that offense to look like was this past week, and even still, like they were still missing starters in the offensive line. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's what they want that offense to look like ultimately.
So from a Vic Fangio, how we're going to approach this standpoint, what are your expectations? How do you think they're going to try to handle Nakua and Kupp? And how much do they move those guys around? This is not like a Terry McLaurin just going on the left side situation.
Kupp does most of his work from the slot. They'll still move him outside at times, but the majority of his work has come from the slot. I was just looking this past
it's like
week.
70-something%.
Yeah, 70% from the slot, but even like this past week, it was like 6 of 7 of his targets came from inside. His touchdown came from inside. So that's a matchup with he and Cooper DeJean, certainly that you'll look at that. So Cooper on Cooper there on the interior, but Puka Nakua, they move him all over. He'll get reps in the backfield. He'll line up as a wing tight end. They do all kinds of things with Puka Nakua.
The releases through the line of scrimmage, it's really fun to watch. It's cool.
No, well, so that's the problem, right? Is that if you are a defender, or if you're a defender and you're in charge of Puka Nakua before the snap, imagine he's in the right slot. They will bring him back to the left slot and then loop him around Stafford back into the backfield and then loop him back through the formation like that wheel route for a touchdown that Barkley ran and have him run that. Like that's tough to handle. They put a lot of stress on you from that way. And so you have to, it's not like you ignore the motions, but you have to just go out and you just have to trust your coverage rules, and you can't give up the cheap stuff. They're going to out scheme you on some of these plays.
There are going to be some mistakes.
Yeah, they're going to out scheme you, so you can't give up the cheap stuff in the meantime.
I'm fascinated by this offensive line.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, and you said in past years you'd say the Eagles would win on the line. But I look at the Rams here. First off, that 3-year, $51 million contract seems to be like dangerous now in the NFL. That's what Bryce Huff got. That's what Jonah Jackson got.
Yep.
And Jonah Jackson, who was a Pro Bowler, and Shia would want us to say from media.
From media. Yep.
Okay. And I didn't quite understand what the Rams were doing, investing in all the guards. They moved Steve Avila, who had a good rookie year. Now Jackson was benched, as everyone can see on your notes and on PHLY.com. But I bring this up because last year I thought Jalen Carter was awesome in that game.
Yes.
And I know the Rams had some issues on the interior line. That's part of why they spent money this past year. But they're still having some issues on the interior. They have a 6th-round pick at center right now.
Yep.
Is this a game that Jalen Carter can wreck?
He can. Now, the game he wrecked last year against the Rams, that was Kevin Dotson, and I think it was his second start. Now, they traded for Dotson from Pittsburgh. He was a mid-round pick, got drafted, and was benched by the Steelers. So then they traded him before last season. So he started on the bench, worked his way into the starting lineup. That game against the Eagles was his second start, if memory serves. And Carter got him on a number of plays, and Fletcher had a good game in that game as well against Dotson. Now, he went on to have a really good season, earned a contract extension, and got paid, as you mentioned, got paid really well. They went out and signed Jonah Jackson to be the left guard. And so they were like, all right, we're going to take Steve Avila, we're going to put him to center, and now we've got these 3 monstrous interior offensive linemen that really fit that downhill rushing attack that they've kind of morphed into. And then very late, like after preseason game 3, they were like, okay, we're going to move Avila back to left guard and Jonah Jackson's going to play center. It was like really weird that they did this after the preseason with basically giving him no reps there at center. And then he promptly got hurt, Jonah Jackson. So he's injured and misses the first half of the season. He comes back 2 weeks ago in week 10 and was terrible. They lost to the Miami Dolphins, and they ran stunt after stunt after stunt. And rightfully so. This is a guy that's never played center before. Let's test him, and he was bad. So then they benched him last week in favor of Bo's favorite spelling, rookie center.
B-E-A-U,
Yeah,
X.
Bo Limmer.
I don't mind an X.
You don't mind? You don't mind the X?
X is better than no X.
Okay, so
BAU
BEAU
is the lowest of the low.
which they go up against a BAU next week. The Ravens have a safety, Bo Braid from Maryland, who's the no X. But Bo Limmer, who is, I think I had a good comp for him coming out, but he's a leaner
Vlachos?
center. No, he's actually the complete opposite of Vlachos from a body type standpoint. He's a taller, leaner center, pretty good athlete. He is more of like your stretch zone type of athlete. So to me, that's one where like go after his anchor. I think you can create some push against Bo Limmer. We saw the Eagles were able to get Jalen Carter matched up on the center from Washington last week, and that was really fruitful for them. So I think in this game you'll see a little bit of that. But the matchup primarily will be against the right guard, Kevin Dotson. And Dotson has played pretty well when healthy this year, and so we'll see exactly how that matchup goes.
Well, it's funny. The top two contenders for defensive rookie of the year, right? Jared Verse and Quinyon Mitchell. It seems like at this point they're on the field in the same game here, and Quinyon Mitchell is going to get thrown at more this week than he did last week, right?
I would think so.
Puka is the number 1 targeted wide receiver in the NFL. Cooper Kupp is number 2 or number 3, depending on if you count Rashee Rice. Like they're going to throw to those guys and they're going to move them all around. So like it seems like that's where this game starts. The run game is like they want to run the ball, and they are. It's interesting. They're like second, I believe, in rushing success rate.
Yep.
But 31st in explosive run rate.
Right.
So like they're just getting what's blocked. They are not a threat right now to beat you at the second level.
I really like Kyron Williams, their running back.
Loved Kyron Williams coming out.
He is like a slightly more talented version of like Kenny Gainwell, where there's not like
he's going to get you what's there.
Yeah, and there's not like a plus physical trait with Kyron Williams. He's just relying on like his instincts and the fact that he is really slippery. And he's had 5 games this year where he's forced 5 missed tackles. That's one of the best in the NFL so far this season. So he's that kind of like slippery, make you miss runners. He's really competitive with the ball in his hands. Now his numbers and the run game numbers overall have fallen off since Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have come back into the lineup. They've become much more reliant. I think they've been excited to get those guys back into the lineup. We want to feed those guys. So we'll see exactly how much of a factor Kyron is in this game. But to me, when I look at Quinyon for this matchup, it's not necessarily like, all right, Puka versus, because they move those guys around, right? But where I do see, look, they love to line up in these tight formations and then throw quick outbreaking routes. When they're not doing like the play action stuff, they're playing drop back pass is, all right, we're going to go condensed formations and we're going to throw quick outbreaking routes towards the sideline. This is a prime opportunity for Quinyon in this game to jump one of these routes and finally get that interception that we've been hoping to see. Because those were the routes, remember, early on where he dropped a couple early? It was those specific kinds of routes against Atlanta where did Robinson, their offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson comes from the Rams, those kinds of routes, right? So I would expect those opportunities will be there for Quinyon in this game.
It is also an opportunity for him to sort of draw on the experience of playing inside in training camp a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
no question.
It's a similar assignment.
Yeah, and Cooper, to me, like this is where last week was, all right, all eyes on Quinyon Mitchell. This one, to me, like this is a big Cooper DeJean like spotlight game, to see how he's able to navigate everything that they're going to throw at him. Kobie Dean, I think, is going to be put under the spotlight in this game. Zach Vaughn will be put under the spotlight in this game. So a huge test for all those guys in the middle of the field.
And run game, you're not super concerned? Because, I mean, we talked about Kyron Williams,
I think that this is one where the Eagles should be able to hold their own, certainly at the point of attack. I think that we know what they want to be offensively with the run game, but to your point, I mean, they've been successful, but not overly explosive. I think the Eagles will accept that here in this game for the most part.
Speaking about the Eagles defense, just to give an update, Jalyx Hunt is practicing today. Milton Williams is practicing today. DeVonta Smith is not practicing today. That's going on as we speak.
Are you worried about DeVonta?
Am I
worried? 2 in a row.
I am not worried about DeVonta's status, but you know what? When a guy misses Thursday, the antenna does go up.
Okay. Well, we will talk more about that in just a minute. I'm not feeling so good. I hope it's not pneumonia.
Oh my God.
If you're thinking similarly, you can protect yourself from pneumonia. Come on.
Are you actually not feeling well?
At
or is that a
Rite
bit?
Aid, adults age 50 and older. No, I'm just that good of an actor, Zach. Adults age 50 and older are now eligible for the vaccine. It was you previously 65 and older. So we got a whole spate of people eligible for this pneumonia vaccine now. The CDC just lowered the age recommendation. That means that you can protect yourself and everybody in your community. Millions of people get pneumonia every year, according to the CDC. It is a respiratory illness, and fall and winter are a time when germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread. And now is the time to get vaccinated. Help yourself stay healthy. Some people get pneumonia, and they only have mild symptoms. Others experience serious complications. The vaccine is the best way to keep yourself healthy and avoid pneumonia. And the good news is it's usually no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. And if you're unsure of what vaccines you need, just ask your pharmacist for a personal recommendation. Stop by your local Rite Aid today.
Maybe you don't have pneumonia. Maybe something not that serious, but maybe your joints are aching, your hands are cramping, or your back could be out of whack. That's when you need to call our friends at Rothman Orthopedic, because they've got your back. At Rothman Orthopedics, practicing specialized care has been their passion for over 50 years, and their mission is high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research that leads to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doctor is laser focused on their specialty: hip, knee, spine, you name it. They've got a team for each body part right in your backyard. So you can get back to having that catch in the backyard, shooting some hoops, and jumping up and rooting for your favorite teams like no other fans in the world. They are Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Rothman's 200-plus fellowship-trained physicians subspecialize in specific areas of the body and a multitude of orthopedic services, including hip, knee, spine, shoulder and elbow, foot and ankle, hand and wrist, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation, orthopedic, oncology, and trauma and fracture care. They've got a lot going on at Rothman Orthopedic, and they proudly serve dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with over 30 convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. Patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics. From diagnosis to discharge, they provide their patients with every surface and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics and bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. I've told you in the past that my mom had double knee replacement just last year at this time, almost to the day as we sit here, but she put her faith in Rothman, and they did not disappoint. Rothman Orthopedics, specialized in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
Speaking about pneumonia, because I was speaking about it today. This was the weekend last year. The Eagles played the Chiefs. And I had pneumonia. I didn't know about it because we were talking about the weekend before Thanksgiving, and that trip last year, that was as bad as I felt. So, like, I can't remember feeling worse than I did then, like physically. So I would say if you have symptoms, make sure you check out your local Rite Aid.
I had a great aunt that just had complications from pneumonia. Was in the hospital for a couple of weeks over the summer. I would say, yes, make sure you get those vaccinations.
And if you're a fan of like seeing Zach run down a little bit, Monday's show could be good because you're going to be coming off the red eye.
Yes, well, I will say Monday. I probably won't. I should be fine Monday. Tuesdays when I probably feel it.
Day.
It's the Tuesday when I feel it.
Big words. That means you're gonna have to be on your game on Monday.
I just get excited to see you, Bo. So I come in after 2 days, and yeah, I'll be ready to roll.
All right, let's talk about this Rams defense, which the Rams offense. We know the stars. Rams defense. Jared Verse seems to look like a star, but this does feel like a group that is overachieving a little bit. Now it is solidly third quartile, just like the Rams offense was stuck in that second quartile. The Rams defense is 18th in DVOA, 22nd in passing DVOA, 20th in rushing DVOA. The back seven, not so great,
right?
But that defensive line is very interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I look at it, and when you like third quartile, but probably closer to the middle, right? Like, the 16s and 20s, like that's a little closer to the middle of the pack. I think when you look at this group, Pressure is what they're all about. They put a lot of stress on you from that
Are we
standpoint.
talking blitz rates or just like from the front four?
A little bit of both. Their pressure rate when they don't blitz is actually very good, because you know what they do is that they do a lot of the, all right, we're going to put 6 or 7 guys up on the line of scrimmage and only send 4, so that doesn't go down as a blitz. But I mean, that's a pressure look, and they do that a lot. And they do it with all kinds of guys lining up in funky spots. So that's something that you're going to have to watch for if you're Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to get pressured in this game. When you look at all the pressure numbers, he is at the bottom of the list in terms of how often he gets pressured. A lot of that, by his own doing, not necessarily from the offensive line. And the Rams are like number 2, number 3, depending on which service you look at in terms of pressure rate, especially over the last month or two. So when you look at this group, he is going to get pressured. And this is Jared Verse. On the other side, you got Byron Young, last year's 3rd-round pick, who's really long, explosive, twitchy. He's a tough matchup from a blocking standpoint. Braden Fiske, this year's 2nd-round pick. Really, really good. He's been very impressive over these last few weeks. He had 2 sacks last week. He had 2 sacks 3 weeks ago. Kobie Turner was a rookie last year who did a lot for them, up front. It was a lot of people honestly argued that he would have been most deserving of Rookie of the Year defensively in the NFL last year. So I think when you look at that group up front, is that the wake? There you go. But when you look at that group, they're going to present challenges to Jalen Hurts this week.
You gonna do the whole thing?
Yeah, he will.
Go D.
No.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Your thoughts on Chris Shula, the Rams defensive coordinator?
And Zach, how close were the Eagles to hiring Chris Shula?
You tell me. Nick Sirianni knows him well.
They interviewed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know
give us the background. The Eagles. This is a potential what if.
Yeah, he's someone Nick knows well. They work together. There's a background there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when they hired Desai.
Yep.
So
they interviewed him.
Yeah, who actually is on the staff with the Rams.
Yes, we'll actually get to that with Jourdan, the potential awkwardness of that dynamic.
Yeah, so I don't know how close they were to Shula, but I do know he's someone that they liked, and he's someone who Nick holds in high regard.
Yeah,
a good story, by the way, by Zach Kiefer of The Athletic on Chris Shula about 2 weeks ago.
Really? Yeah, it was to me, like, I loved watching this defense. I had a lot of fun watching them go, and a lot of it is, there's like a newish thing, because it's a lot of unknown names, not a lot of household players here on this defense. We just talked about the young guys up front, but on the back end, it's kind of a hodgepodge group. We have Darius Williams, who was a good playmaker for them when the Rams were going to Super Bowls, but is kind of aged out of that kind of profile. Still can be a playmaking corner for them. Kobie Durant was a former 4th-round pick out of South Carolina State. To me, he's their best corner. Quentin Lake, a day 3 pick a couple years ago, he's their nickel. Cam Kinchins is a rookie. He's really come on. He's had 3 picks in the last few weeks.
Yeah, he's won Rookie of the Week 2 of the past 3 weeks. He had a game-ending interception for them a week ago in that win. Cam Curl, who the Eagles should know well, was a safety for the Washington Commanders. He's there basically playing in the same role, often used as a blitzer on 3rd down safety, a lot of box play from him. He'll match up against tight ends. It's a fun group. They fly around. I enjoy defenses that throw all the funky pressure looks at you, and that's this group to a T. I mean, they're going to line all of these guys up. This is not going to, it kind of goes to what we were saying last week. All right, well, this is going to be Lane Johnson is going to see Dorrance Armstrong. Like, no, Lane Johnson's going to see a little bit of everybody. He's going to see a lot of Jared Verse, but he's going to see some Young. He's going to see some Braden Fiske. He's going to see Kobie Turner. The Michael Hoyt is another player, the number 97, converted defensive tackle, who they last year moved to defensive end, and they're like dropping him in coverage, and he's like 280 pounds, dropping as a middle hook defender. This year they're playing him still off the edge, but then also as like a joker, and they're moving around over the center, and there are reps where he's like playing as like a stand-up linebacker. Like he's like a Taysom Hill, defensive version of Taysom Hill, where it's just like this big white guy kind of flying around. But it's a fun defense. What's that? Ivy Leaguer.
That's right. One of
the spelling to pronunciation biggest mystifying ones, if you're trying to teach someone how to spell or how to read.
Yeah.
Hoecht.
Hoyt.
How do you get Hoyt?
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but
made it up.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I don't have the answer for you at all.
Okay. How do you feel about this team in Los Angeles having 2 players named Kobie on defense, both spelled different ways, and neither of them like Kobie?
I think just in terms of following the draft, I will say that they're like every year now you're seeing more and more Kobe's coming through in the NFL, and all different like spellings. Like there's the kid in Seattle, Kobe Bryant from Cincinnati.
Yeah, Koby.
He was Koby. This year there's one that's Kobee. There's Kobie with Durant here with the Rams, who's Kobie. So we're seeing all these.
Kobe Turner is Kobie.
Correct. So there's.
What do you like best?
I like the OG. I like Kobe.
I kind of like Kobe.
Kobe.
Or Kobi, like Kobe Jones.
Okay.
And Kobe Jones likes Beau, X best for Bo.
How fun is Jared Verse to watch?
He's a guy that is just going to run right through you. There's not a lot of mystery to the way he plays. He's a physical, powerful bull rusher that's just going to run right through your face mask. If you're going,
it feels like the kind of matchup that Jordan Mailata can do okay with.
Yes, I do like this matchup for Jordan from that way. That he is the type of rusher that I think Jordan can hold up okay from that standpoint. So yeah, I would agree with that.
So what about game plan wise for the Eagles? Are we talking let Saquon eat again?
I think there will be opportunities there. I think you can create movement against this group. To me, what's going to determine how this offense performs is how does Jalen perform against pressure. Because again, he is going to get pressured. There are going to be sacks likely. You got to avoid the disaster play that tilts the game. Don't turn it over. Don't be forced into throwing an intercept because this is an opportunistic defense. We talked about Kinchins, Darius Williams. Remember Darius Williams had that crazy leaping interception back. That was 2020, right, against Wentz in the end zone in the home game here at Lincoln Financial Field. Kobe Durant has done a nice job of taking the ball away as well over the course of his career. He's been a very productive player at times. So when you look at the secondary, they can be very opportunistic. To me, the big thing is opportunities will be there. Don't have those negative plays turn into disaster plays that can tilt the game, because they should win these matchups on the outside. I mean, you mentioned like the secondary has not been good for the Rams, so like over time,
as you wrote, the biggest mismatch in this game is the Eagles wide receivers against the Rams.
AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith against those corners on the outside. Like that, over time, that talent should win out. So you just have to make it so that you're not throwing interceptions and getting sack fumbles that deter those matchups.
What do you think we're gonna like if DeVonta can't go, Zach? What would we see?
Well, Jahan Dotson. And I would guess more Johnny Wilson, former teammate of Jared Fiske and of Jared Verse and Braden Fiske.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Johnny Wilson's pushing to be that like number 2 receiver if DeVonta were down over Dotson. But yeah, I am curious about the DeVonta thing because I had the same sentiment that this was a week where they can beat you through the air. But if DeVonta's not out there, maybe it's a force-feeding AJ game. Maybe it's making sure AJ gets the 12, 15 targets type thing. But it is I would guess more Johnny Wilson, some Jahan Dotson, and then you rely on Goddard as well.
Goddard had a big game against this team last year. DeVonta only had like 1 catch for 6 yards, I think, in this matchup last year out in LA. It was something like that. It was one of his lowest performing games of the season. But AJ had a huge day, and Goddard, he went like 6 for 123 and a touchdown, I think, in that game against the Rams.
Yeah, I remember there was a long catch and run.
Yep. Yeah. AJ had that long catch and run just for half as well. So, yeah.
The Rams game that's in my mind, and I watched it live, was against the Cardinals when the Cardinals blew them out. Marvin Harrison had a huge game, and so something to watch with A.J. Brown.
Yep.
There you go. Anything else to pick apart on this matchup?
No, I think that's a big one. It's a look. This defense.
You think this is you're a little bit on edge about this matchup? You think
I think that it's we were obviously very excited about last week's game against Washington.
Yeah. I think thought there was a path to a blowout.
Yeah, and I do think there's a path to a blowout in this game, but I think there's also a path. All the same things you worried about with that team and that game, I think are still present here. Because that Washington defense is not very good, but they can create pressure and they can take the ball away. I would say the same thing about this group. And so I don't think this is not that the Eagles would take them lightly because they've had some really good battles against this team over the years. But I think that this is one where this Rams team can bite you. And so you want to have to make sure that things are buttoned up, especially having that West Coast trip. It's the last one of the year. Like you can't just sleepwalk and win through this game.
Another name that I like,
okay,
the defensive line coach, Giff Smith. Giff is a funny name, huh?
Is it Giff or J? Could it be a hard G?
Yeah,
is that a hard G or soft G? J.
You know what? Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
He was the interim coach last year for the Chargers when Brandon Staley was dismissed.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I thought it was. I feel like we would know that. Giff.
Oh,
well, Giffy. All right, back with more on the other side. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. I think I just said available. I meant available. That's what you get at Bet365. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Fran, it's Thursday Night Football. It's that time of the week.
Who we got?
We got Steelers. We got Browns.
I got to look at the spread. I feel Steelers in this one. This defense is humming. It's tough to pick against Steelers right now.
Yeah. It's supposed to be nasty weather tonight.
Plays more in the Steelers' hands. I like that.
I mean, yeah, what wouldn't play more in their hands in this matchup?
True.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Every day, we power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win with over 10,000 boosts every month. They boost specific markets where your winnings and even parlays can get boosted. Keep an eye out for the custom PHLY bets and boosts. Jamie Lynch has been on fire with those. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets. When you bet $5, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
On my phone right now, I have Game Time, the Game Time app, Kings at Clippers at the Intuit Dome on Friday. I'm really trying to get to this game, and I don't have tickets. I don't know if I'll be there in time, but if I am, the place where I'm going to get tickets will be the Game Time app. And I know that I can go to Game Time Picks to find the best deals. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching for thousands of tickets. So I've been monitoring these tickets on Game Time every day the past week, and I know that I can get curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. I know that they'll have the super deal. I know that they'll have the lowest price guarantee with event cancellation protection and job loss protection. But you know what I like the most is that they have the all-in pricing, because what I don't want is to get excited about a seat, maybe the terrace level, and it's the third row in the terrace level, and it's looking really good. It's like it's dropping, below $50, and I'm getting excited, and then you pull up the app, and all of a sudden there are these fees. No, you don't have to worry about that. All-in pricing. You can toggle those features to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Game Time Picks has curation, which makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater. They have seat views where you can get panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee on Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference in Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
We don't usually spend time on special teams, but just to mention it, Los Angeles 28th in special teams DVOA,
okay.
Struggling kicking and also in kickoff coverage. So potentially an opportunity for the Eagles to return one, although we just haven't seen that many opportunities.
No, but maybe this is a Britton Covey, Cooper DeJean punt return opportunity.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
The chat did confirm that it is a soft G for Jiff Smith.
No, it's a GIF.
But if it was, or wait,
GIF is soft and GIF.
Oh no, I'm lost. Shout out to Dean though, who said that G needs a Blue Chew.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of Blue Chew, I do see a question in the chat, Zach. Curious, we know how much you like Adam Schefter. If you've ever broken news post-coital. Or mid.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Adam Schefter. That's not something I would ever discuss on the air. Number one, I hope to break more news. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I was about to ask something else here. Oh, it's with special teams. I am curious. Obviously, last week, Jake Elliott had a tough game. Josh McCarty, the rookie kicker for the Rams, he missed a field goal he should make. So pay attention to the kickers in this game. I think it's really going to be interesting to see if Jake Elliott, who has deserved built equity with the Eagles, if he can get off this skid. Because really before this game, he was inconsistent, right? He hasn't made kicks from 50 yards. And I also want to see if it affects Nick Sirianni's decision-making. You know, Sean McVay, as you wrote in your notes, is conservative on fourth down. Nick Sirianni's been aggressive on fourth down, but I'm curious if he'll operate the same way, or if on some of these 50-50 decisions, he's more apt to be aggressive because Jake Elliott has struggled.
To watch.
I did want to bring that up about what I wrote about it, because it's special teams adjacent in that McVay is very conservative on fourth down. They're happy to settle for a kick, whether it's a punt or a field goal attempt. They have been not good, bottom part of the league in terms of red zone and third down offensively so far this season. And even those numbers have even carried through to when everybody's been healthy. So they just have not been as good on third down in the red zone. The Eagles have been very good defensively third down in the red zone. In this game, and this is like a you and Dana's bit when you're talking about like the money downs and stuff.
Yes.
But in this game, I think it is very important because you want to stop them on third down because they're not going to go for it on fourth. I think this is a game where I think that very much matters.
Yeah, I have so much respect for Professor Selman. He's brilliant. He's great on our show.
There's a butt coming here.
There we go. But
I disagree with the analogy that third down's like the makeup test, because it's within the. You know, like I suppose the makeup test would be going for it on fourth down, right? You have a third down is within the time frame that you have to finish the test. You know, it's like it's part of you're being graded for first, second, third down, so to speak, right? You don't need to make anything up. You get the down.
But it is a makeup test in that, in his analogy at least, it counts the same as the regular test. So yeah, if you get an A the third time around, and it still counts as if you had gotten an A on the first time. It's the same. You still got the A, but you had to work harder to get it.
No, I understand that, but it's like, you know, when you get the syllabus before the year, that test is on there, right? It's not it's not an additional test to try to make up for what you did before.
You don't have to take that test if you get it the first time or the second time.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be a makeup test then. A makeup test would be if you don't pass the course or you don't have the score, you need to add an extra test on.
No, there are classes where it's like you're allowed to revise your essay or something like that for free credit, like without a penalty, and you just get the new grade.
I just think this, like third down is part of the course. It's not.
But it doesn't have to
extra.
be. That's the whole point.
I know it doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to not like. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole. But
I'm closer to your end of this argument, Zach. I do think that third downs are certainly important. I get we don't want to go. You don't go overboard in terms
of course, it's important to do
yes.
well on third down.
Yes.
But
it's not a tell-all about whether or not.
On offense, you don't have to get to third down.
Right.
No,
it's also less predictive. It's much more just results based.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, I just disagree with that analogy. Is my point.
Okay. Well, you're skipping towns tomorrow, so you won't even get to hash it out.
Well, no, I shouldn't even brought it up on the show. That was my fault.
I think it's fun. You know, pressure makes diamonds.
I look forward to speaking to the Professor Selman about it. I will actually come up with an analogy that I think is more apt. I was thinking. I remember playing at one point Mario Kart, and when I was younger.
How much younger?
How much younger? Probably back in the N64 days. I didn't have it, but I would go over a friend's house and play Mario Kart. And if you finished like the course in a certain, you got that time you got the extra time added to your next one, right? So getting first or second down would be like getting that extra time added to your time. That's the best analogy. But I'll continue brainstorming this workshop.
Keep working on that.
Okay, thanks, Bo. Okay. Yeah, I just disagree with the makeup test analogy.
I think it's actually a pretty good analogy.
I know you do.
I'm not here to gas up Daniz. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy thinks Saquon Barkley is the worst player in football. He's been awesome. But
Andrew Walmsley checks in the chat. Toad is the GOAT Mario Kart racer. And Andrew, you are 1,000% correct.
Okay. All right. Is anybody ready for Swooper? Or is there any more football discussion to have here? And then, of course, stick around because we got Jourdan Rodrigue coming up, and it's a very insightful interview. We had a good time.
No, I think we hit on the big stuff. Obviously, anything if you want more info on the matchup, go check out the my film notes over on allphly.com.
All right, last week's Swooper. Go ahead.
And then just one other thing to add too, because we spoke about this being a tough road trip, and Bo pointed this out in a conversation yesterday. The next night, the Ravens are playing in LA.
Yes.
Right. So the Ravens are playing at the Chargers, and that's relevant because the Eagles will play the Ravens next week.
Right. So what would have been otherwise the most difficult little back-to-back stretch, having to cross country and then go on the road again, is a little bit easier.
And coaches will tell you like 2 weeks. This is very like football guy thing. 2 weeks that are really tough in the football building are Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? Because like you don't really have the full workday sometimes, or players.
My goddamn family. I got to spend time with my freaking family.
So you can.
I think I took this job, so I want to freaking see them.
So you can imagine in Baltimore's building, they get back like really, they get back Tuesday morning, and then already, you're recovering Wednesday. Thursday should be Thanksgiving, but or it is Thanksgiving, but you got to approach
this generation of players just insists on spending time with their family.
So it's just interesting that both teams that are playing next Sunday in a huge game are playing it in LA primetime games this week.
Do you think the Harbaughs will have a makeshift Thanksgiving dinner together on Sunday or Monday?
Probably so. Short week, you can't jeopardize the preparation. So now it's serendipity that the family's together. Yeah. You say, Thanksgiving's not when it falls on the calendar. Thanksgiving's when the family's together, right? So you can enjoy turkey and stuffing and all the good stuff.
Have you ever had turducken?
I've never had turducken.
Oh, it's good.
It's good?
Yeah, it's good.
I remember John Madden holding it up, but never had turducken.
I remember him cutting it with his hand.
Yeah.
That was something. All right, last week's Super results. Zach, you had the Eagles score a touchdown on their first offensive drive. Did not happen. You had Zach Gertz has more receiving yards than Dallas Goedert. Did not happen, although if it had been fantasy points, it would have happened. And then you had the Eagles hold the Commanders to 22 points or fewer. You nailed that, so you had one. I had Jalen Hurts has more rushing yards than Jaden Daniels. That did happen. I had Daniz's item number 12 will be the Eagles win the game. That did not happen. I had one of Vinny's former teammates gets a sack, or Jack Driscoll plays an offensive snap, or someone does a wrestling-themed celebration. That was the Vinny Curry woo-woo platter. That did happen. Brandon Graham with the sack. But Jahan Dotson did not set a season high in receiving yards, so that was 2 for me. Fran, you had any player in the game finishes with a passing, rushing, or receiving yards ending in 75. Did not happen. Or Vinny Curry shown on the broadcast. You had Jalen Hurts scores on a brotherly shove. Check. Jalen Hurts throws a pass to a target in the end zone from 10 to 19 yards away. Check.
Who did that 2 or 3 times in the game?
They did. Zach Ertz is tasked with blocking Brandon Graham on an offensive play. Now this...
He tried to block Brandon Graham on an offensive play.
Yeah, he deserves credit.
There's no
We don't know. You wrote it as tasked. We don't know that was his job. He could have been freelancing.
He deserves credit.
We'll check the BFF numbers and see.
We need reporting here. Yeah. And then you had the Eagles win the game by double digits. Didn't happen. For now, under protest, you have the win. So you have 4.33. I have 2.83, 1.5 behind. Zach is 2.5 behind at 1.83. Fran, you have 4 turkeys robbed from you this week, so you will start with 20. Zach, you have an extra 6. You will start with 30. I have an extra 11. I will start with 35. The order this week, Fran, then Zach, then me, then the Daniz submissions. If you don't know how the game works, good on you. We're going to just follow along. Fran, you get to start.
All right, first one. Let's go to DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith has at least 60 yards receiving in the game. Now, the reason why I picked 60. He's averaging 57.3 yards per game on the season. He's had 2 straight weeks of under 30 yards after 2 straight weeks of over 80. and he was over 75 in 5 of his last 7 games, of his first 7 games, I should say, of the season. Last year against the Rams, he had 1 catch for 6 yards. We talked about how he has not practiced so far this week, so that goes into the picture as well. We will start the bidding at 2. DeVonta Smith has at least 60 yards in the game receiving.
This is tough, given the injury. I'll say 3.
3 to Bo.
4.
4 to Zach.
Good one, Zach.
Good one.
Where is that going once?
I'm going to say 5.
5 to Bo.
I want to save turkeys.
We know.
Thanksgiving's coming up.
5 to Bo going once.
6.
6 to Zach.
Devontae's number.
6 to Zach going once. 6 to Zach going twice.
I'm a little worried about the thing.
Ooh.
Gonna sell it.
Sold.
6. 6 to Zach.
All right. Over to you, Zach.
So this also has to do with Eagles wide receivers. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith combined for more receiving yards than Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. This is one that I like to do when it's 2 great wide receiver combinations. And I will start the bidding at 1.
2.
3.
3 to Bo.
4.
4 to Fran.
5.
6.
6 to Fran.
Interesting that you'd be more willing to go for this on 6 than the DeVonta one itself. But
6 to Fran going once. 6 to Fran going twice.
Man, no faith. I'll take it.
I was planning on bidding on this, and then I bid on the DeVonta one. I was debating which one's more likely, and I said, well, if DeVonta plays, I'm going to go with the DeVonta one.
this will be 3 submissions in a row that are related to DeVonta Smith.
Okay.
Mine is
First
DeVonta
catch.
Smith will be the target of Jalen Hurts' first pass of the game, and I will start the bidding at 2.
3.
3 to Fran.
3 going once.
Oh.
How are you?
3 going twice.
You too.
That's goodbye.
You go
Good.
more than that one, Bo.
You're also allowed to bid.
I know, but I'm already down to 24.
He already has one item, though.
Yes. It's not outrageous. All right, what do we got from Dennis?
Oop, 1 second.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy.
All right, normal auction. The Eagles score a touchdown on their first offensive drive, or Matthew Stafford has a scramble, or the Rams run a play with a 6th offensive lineman, or an Eagles corner gets an interception. None of those 4 things have happened all year long.
I like a poo-poo platter.
We know you do.
Who starts the bidding?
Whoever wants to.
1.
2.
3.
3 to Zach.
4.
4 to Fran.
4 going once.
Brian.
4 going twice.
Can't get the 5th one. Can't get that
5.
5th turkey. Wait, was that a bid?
Yes.
Okay.
5 going once. 5 going twice.
I can take it.
I'll take it.
So what was it? It was Eagles score,
So Eagles
touchdown,
touchdown on the opening
drive.
drive.
Is it only one
Stafford
occurs
run.
or any of them occur?
Any of them.
Any.
occur.
Okay.
Stafford,
Stafford
run.
scrambles.
Yep.
The Rams 6th offensive lineman, which I'm sure will not happen. And then a corner interception for
Maybe
the
Quignon gets his pick this week.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Battle for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
All right, over to Fran.
All right, let's go back to Matthew Stafford. All right, so Matthew Stafford has a sub 100 passer rating, so basically 99.9 or below. Some background here. Eagles have allowed just one quarterback all season to hit that mark. That was Kirk Cousins back in week 2. Stafford, though, has hit that mark twice in the last 4 games. And against top defenses last year, he faced 2 top 2 pass defenses last season, Matthew Stafford. He averaged a 106.4 passer rating, did actually very well against the 2 elite pass defenses he faced. So Matthew Stafford has a sub 100 passer rating. Do the Eagles stop him? I'll start the bidding at 2.
And by the way, a popular topic in Novacare this week is how Bill Belichick once called upon Vic Fangio to help devise that game plan because Sean McVay said Vic Fangio's scheme was the hardest to coach against. So this bidding starts at 2.
2.
I'll go 3.
3 to Zach.
4.
4 to Fran.
You know, I'm always impressed when Fran bids on his own items because that makes me think he's confident in them. So I will go 5.
6.
Ooh, whoa. 6 to Fran. 6 to Fran going once.
I'll say 7.
Ooh. 7 to Bo.
Hmm.
7 to Bo going once.
It's a good one. I want to go, but
You can't part with that 8th
Going
one.
twice.
no,
Go ahead. You can have it, Bo, for me.
you have it. That's a good one, though. For
7.
you, Bo.
Yep.
Good job.
I don't love that one, but
Okay. Jake Elliott does not miss a field goal. So this,
specifically field goal.
yes,
Okay.
specifically field goal. And it's not that Jake Elliott makes a field goal. It's Jake
Right.
Elliott does not miss a field goal. So if he does not attempt a field goal,
Okay.
you still win.
Got it.
Okay.
And this is 1. I'll start with
2.
Ooh, 2 to
3.
Fran. Oh, 3 to Zach.
6.
Ooh. 6 to Bo.
7.
Ooh.
Wow.
7 to Zach.
8.
Ooh, 8 to Bo.
Where am I at? 26. Or 24, rather.
To Bo going once.
You can have it free.
Oh.
Oh.
9.
Oh. 9 to Zach. 9 to Zach going once.
You don't want it, Bo?
9 to Zach going twice.
You should go. Bo, this
Oh,
is
man.
very-
He was trying to sucker you.
Actually, I'm going to take it for 10.
There we
All
go.
right, he can have it for 10.
Wow. Roller coaster of emotions there.
Yeah, I was
was.
going to do it until you very plainly were trying to get me to do it.
That's a good one for you, too. I like your chances this week.
Thanks. We love the advice from the guy who's losing the game. All right. We have another DeVonta Smith submission
Oh,
here.
wow.
DeVonta Smith is the target of Jalen Hurts' second pass of the game. I will start the bidding at 2.
2 to Bo.
3.
3 to Fran.
This is a fun one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
You have 6 turkeys on,
Right.
and
Yeah.
but an upside of
I
both.
know. Yeah.
3 to Fran. 3 to Fran going once.
Stacking up bid.
3 to Fran going twice.
Man, that's a good one.
I'll take it.
Sold.
I'm going to start being more aggressive now.
Oh, now?
All right.
All right. This is the first part of it.
Oh, no.
Ooh, a
Fixed
fixed
price.
price auction with increasing item value. So this item will cost 5 turkeys no matter who wins it.
Okay.
Julia will begin at whatever it is at 10 and count down from 10, 9, 8 until someone yells Swooper. So this item is going to cost 5 turkeys, and Julia is going to be the countdown auctioneer for us until somebody yells Swooper. And we don't know what the item is yet.
Yep.
But the item is.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
No.
No, I thought you were going to say the item. Yeah. I didn't know if we were. Okay.
Yeah, we have to see what the item is.
I didn't know if it was the type of thing where you
But you understand
bid.
the mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, wait. So it's counting down from 10, but it's going to cost 5.
Yes.
It's going to cost 5 no
Right.
matter what. But the item that we're going to find out, it's going to be something where the value of it varies. Like you'll see. What the item is.
Okay.
Do I start at 10 as soon as I reveal it?
Well, no, we'll talk.
No, you can look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Once I finish reading, you can start counting.
Okay.
All right. The item is DeVonta Smith has at least
okay. Got it.
however
Okay.
many
Got
catches.
it. Got it.
So
Got
it's
it.
Start at 10.
Got it.
This item's going to be worth 5, but
Yep.
whoever yells Swooper at whatever number
No,
it is.
okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Swooper.
Whew.
Wow.
So he has at least 6 catches.
Look at Zach. He looks like he's Schefter in bed.
I can break the Dale Carter news then.
Then everybody will remember you forever. You'll always be known for that.
So
Wow.
if
Devontae's out of this game.
If DeVonta Smith has 6 catches for 60 yards, I hit on 2 swoopers, and so I paid 5 turkeys for that.
Although if he gets targeted on the first 2 passes for Jalen Hurts, I also get 2 swoopers.
There you go. All right, Fran, your final
My
submission.
final one.
Just to reset it, you have 8 left. Zach has 18. I have 13.
Okay, my final one. The Eagles score first in the game. Now, the Rams have not scored a point in the first quarter in 7 games this season, which is second in the NFL, behind only Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles have scored in the first quarter lately, the last couple of weeks, but the Rams have not scored in the first quarter in 7 games this year, and it's been on a streak. I think the only time they did it was back early in the season. So I will start the bidding at 2.
2 to Fran.
3,
3 to Zach.
4,
Ooh, 4 to Fran.
5,
5 to Zach.
6.
6 to Fran.
7,
8.
Ooh, 8 to Bo.
Damn it.
8 to Bo going once. 8 to Bo going twice. Sold.
Take that.
I'm out.
So how many turkeys does everyone have?
You have 18.
I have
Bo-
19.
You have 18.
Oh,
I
boy.
bet 6 and 5.
You did 6 and 6.
No, because the DeVonta Smith item counted as 5.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right. You're right.
So he's got 19.
Jeez. Could have been fireworks. You have 19. Fran has 8. I have 5.
Okay.
All right.
He
Your
needs
final
that extra one to
submission.
carry over to next week.
Okay. This item here,
It's got a number.
the Sixers win before the Eagles. So the Sixers have 2 games before that Eagles game finishes.
Okay.
They play 6 o'clock on Sunday, so that's one of the games. So
Okay.
that game will
I like this.
finish. And now, if the Eagles lose,
Yeah.
then it extends to.
Ooh, I like
the
this
following
one.
week. Yeah. So
This is your best submission ever.
The
Zach.
Sixers are 2 and 11. Well, the Sixers are what 2 and 11, 2 and 12 right now.
Something
So,
like that.
Yeah. So there's a chance the Sixers might go a period of time without winning, but every night I text my brothers. Yeah, I bet on the Sixers tonight. They're gonna win. You know? I was like, last night.
How's that going?
Last night I was so confident. I was like, the story comes out about the meeting.
Every night.
The first game, all 3 guys are playing. I'm like, it's Memphis. Come on. Yeah. So
That's very funny.
Every time Embiid left the floor, he collapsed on the floor. Like he could not stick a landing the entire night. It's tough to watch.
I will start the bidding at 5.
5 to Zach.
Good bid. I can't bid.
I'm not taking that one.
Well.
You just said how you've been saying they're going to win every night and they keep losing. So I'll
But if
I'll
the
let you
Eagles
have it.
lose, you have a week and a half of this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. I like that one.
Sixers win before the Eagles.
All right, my last one. DeVonta Smith is targeted on Jalen Hurts' first pass of the second half. And I will start the bidding. Let's say 2.
3.
So we get all of them.
2 to Fran.
How long did it take you to come up with yours? Just the same
I
one.
like to concede.
3 to Fran.
Man, I am screwed if DeVonta does not play.
Yeah, I mean, I hope.
I would be too.
I'm on Galulium.
Let's see. I'm down to 14 turkeys. If I need some items here, let's go 4
4 to Zach.
just to get in the game. But that's my third DeVonta item.
What you have for?
Oh.
Not for me.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not going to do it.
so you didn't come away with one of your submissions.
That's true. I would have been happy to.
Yeah.
All right. Entering the final dinners, we have 8 for Fran, 10 for Zach, 5 for me.
Okay. Here are the rolls.
Item 12, reverse Dutch auction.
Love a reverse Dutch.
Julia begins at 0 and slowly counts up 1 turkey at a time until 2 of the players yell swooper out, meaning that they are out of the running for the item. The remaining player wins the item and pays the last number that Julia said. Players can borrow turkeys from next week. We understand?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. And the item.
The Eagles win the game by more points than the last number Julia said at the moment the first player yells swooper out. So the earlier the first player says swooper out, the more valuable the item becomes for the others. Now, the line for this game is... Give me a minute.
Bet365.
Check out Bet365 here. Ba-ba-ba.
3, I believe.
The line is 3. Interesting.
Yeah. 2.5, 3.
Line is
Yep.
2.5
Yep.
in favor of the Eagles. Okay.
And if you don't bid, so you have to say swooper out.
To be out.
To be out.
If you don't say
Okay.
anything, you're going to win the item.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Everybody understands.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Julia, you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Starting with 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Swooper out.
Super out.
7.
No, 8.
At
8.
8.
You did get
At
8 in
8,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
So you're paying 8, and they got to
Paying
win
8,
by
they
8.
got to win by 8. Paying 8, they got to win
Yeah,
by
that's
8.
not that bad, actually.
Yeah, I'll take that. Especially because I had 8 left. So I'm not carrying over to any next week. Win by at least 8.
I believe it says
Yeah.
at least.
Yes.
Or... This was a fun one. I like
Yes.
this one.
Oh, wait, that's the second one.
By more points. No, not at least 8.
By more points.
So 9.
More, so they must
So
win
they have to win by 9.
by more than 8. Okay.
Okay. That's a fun one. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm happy I didn't, but I think this it's crazy how much this one just hinges on DeVonta.
Yeah, really. I mean, this entire thing is going to hinge on DeVonta.
Fran, you have AJ and DeVonta have more receiving yards than Cooper, Kupp, and Puka Nacua. DeVonta is targeted on the first pass of the game by Jalen Hurts. DeVonta is targeted on the second pass of the game by Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles win by 9. And you used up a clean full 20 of your turkeys. Nice job. Zach, you have DeVonta goes for at least 60 yards. Was it at least 60 or over 60?
I think at least 60.
Okay. You have
At least
DeVonta
60,
has
yeah.
6 catches. The Sixers win before the Eagles win. And DeVonta is targeted on the first pass of the second half by Jalen Hurts. Now, if Jalen Hurts gets knocked out, that does not count.
Okay, I didn't think.
I did say Jalen Hurts.
All right, I didn't think about that.
I have the poo-poo platter of first-time things that could happen for the Eagles.
Wait.
Including,
Can we put that one up again real quick? Because if we're being technical on the poo-poo platter, on Deniz's first, because in the chat they were saying that only one of them can occur based on the way.
No. It says or. It doesn't
Yep.
say only one. Ors are inclusive.
Yep.
Okay, I was just going based on the chat. I believe in a populist view of the show, but okay. If you scroll up, they were saying, but
And who would you like to demonize as part of that populism, Zach?
who would like to demonize?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? I'm not following you.
Okay.
Okay.
That tracks. I have also Matthew Stafford has a sub 100 passer rating. Jake Elliott does not miss a field goal, and the Eagles score first in the game. I have 5 turkeys left over. Zach, you have 10 turkeys left over. All right. Anything else?
The chat says there's a difference between or and or.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not only one. If it has to say only one thing happens.
I agree. I write it as inclusive.
Well, no, they're
I'm not taking grammar advice from them.
They're saying this happens, or that happens, or that happens, or that happens. It's
Yes.
not and
if
or.
Three
and
of those things happen, one happened, and another one happened, or another one happened. All those things happened.
I'm listening to the chat, but
You're wrong.
What are the technological advances that you added to your list?
So one that I originally had meant to have on there. So originally my list was 2, and I had forgotten about the other one. Electric toothbrush.
Okay.
I like the electric toothbrush.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No real downside. I mean, it's a little expensive, but then you got to do what you got to do. Shout out to I had a sicko in the wild.
Oh.
Talk to me that day as I was walking around town. I think I wrote his name down. Scott, I want to say. He brought up GPS, which has been a popular. He said Zach brought up Google Maps. He thought GPS is the one that it actually should have been. But I don't know, because then you play it down like, I don't know. Are we really happy that like Apple knows where all of us are every single minute of the day? Like, is that a good thing? You like the surveillance state? I think there's some. I'm talking about unequivocal goods.
I like my GPS.
yeah.
I like the GPS.
Okay. Let's see what else I have on here. Now, contact lenses was told to me because like the improvement in technology within contact lenses has been tremendous. I'm
Improving or including that with your medical stuff?
Yeah, I feel like that's a little bit too on the nose of medical stuff.
Okay.
I like the suggestion of the tap down water bottle refill, like the water fountain where instead of it coming up, it can also come down, so you can put your water bottle underneath. I like that one. That is a nice, perfectly functional, helpful thing that's not hurting anybody. So I'm in on that. And then I saw somebody on I don't remember which social media service was, brought up the zero turn tractor. Now, I'm not a tractor guy myself, but I'm into that. Like that feels, that's not hurting anybody. It's improving things a little bit. I'm okay with that.
The zero turn tractor.
Meaning like it's like, you can just sort of swivel it. Like it's, you're getting better coverage that way.
Okay.
You're sitting here. You have a computer in front of you.
I live in the world. I don't have a choice.
You have a cell phone next to you. You have lights over your head. You have heat in this.
Oh, we're going all the way back to Edison now?
You have heat in this building. You drove here on a car. There were stoplights.
Well, I drove in the car, but
you drove here in a car. There's stoplights on the roads are paved.
I'm not saying no tech. I'm talking about within my lifetime.
We're at the 7th floor of a building. There's an elevator.
They never had floors before.
There's an elevator to get you up here.
Not for you.
This is such a ridiculous conversation. Like, to me, I'm flying to Los Angeles this
all
weekend.
Of those things. So many of those things existed.
Airplane.
You're not giving me anything other than the laptop and the phone.
So
it's my job. I have no choice.
Your argument is only in our lifetime.
Yeah, we already talked about it. That was
okay.
That was the beginning.
If you go back, so you think that
now there was one other one.
Okay.
HD television. I mean, within my lifetime, the improvements of just being able to see what's on TV.
Isn't it crazy
fantastic.
though when you see the SD clips and you're like, man, it did not. I don't remember it looking that bad. Like whenever you see like old clips, you're like, man, I don't remember it looking that bad, but it was just adjusted.
I mean, I don't. This is befuddling to me. Like I know you like to play contrarian against me, but this is befuddling to me. And by the way, I just want to clear one thing up because this has rankled me. You said that I was defending the thumbs up as an advancement in technology when I did not do that. We're specifically
That's
speaking.
been rankling you.
We were specifically speaking. We were specifically speaking about changes in iOS, the operating systems. And
No,
I
we
mentioned,
weren't.
All our stuff is recorded, by the way, with cameras that did not exist in 1986 on a mechanism.
Cameras existed.
These types of video cameras did not exist in 1986 on a mechanism that did not, on a flat panel TV that did not exist in 1986. Okay, on YouTube that did not exist in 1986.
With the speed, in the face of Edison.
With the speed of technology, like
the Wright brothers died for you.
We put food on the table.
Cast away like I was around a fire. Like
all four of us in this room put food on the table with technology that did not exist in 1986. Like it's befuddling to me that I'm being like casted as in a certain way for appreciating. I'm not saying that there isn't bad that comes with technolotechnology.
I mean, that's pretty much what you've been saying.
Not
you alter at the Church of Technology. All technology is good.
No, I think that I think technology is a net positive. I don't think this should be a polarizing opinion. I think our lives are enhanced by it. After I finish the show, I can call my wife on this phone.
They had car phones in '86.
I mean, you had to be really you'd be doing really well to have a car phone in 1986. I would imagine. Even still, I can't imagine you were calling. If your wife's at work, you might not be able to get in touch with her. You might have to leave. You couldn't send a text message. Everything. Our lives are significantly easier than they were 38 years ago.
I don't know that that's necessarily true.
There are challenges that have come with technology, no doubt, but there's also great benefits. And it would be hypocritical for me, and I think for us, to bemoan technology when all four of us are the beneficiaries of advancements in technology. Is my point.
I'm on your side of this argument. I'm very, very pro technology, but it is just fun to watch you squirm like this. I mean,
I've got to list like 5 things that have been unequivocally good.
In 1986, if Fran wanted to get film of the team he was playing, he would. I've spoken to coaches about this. They had to drive and meet halfway and exchange the film and roll through it and literally cut the film up. Now, 2 taps and everyone knows the rules, right?
When I first started at Temple in 2006, when we were playing opponents, I had to either send film on the airport, like to throw on tape or DVD to the airport and have it FedExed, or I had to drive and meet them halfway. That was in 2006, not in 1986.
My siblings always joke that when we traveled when I was younger, okay, I would have this backpack that was drowning me because I would bring 15 books, okay? On anywhere we went, we would drive up to Lake George, and I would have this backpack that you couldn't even fit in the car because I had all these books, and big books. I sounded weird.
The biggest books. You've never seen books this big.
I used to bring the sports almanac everywhere. Okay, and those were big, and then bring up. And so, anyways, and now I'm gonna have 5 books on the plane this week, all on my iPad. It's amazing. So yeah, I will gladly die on this hill. We don't need to relitigate this, but I will gladly die on this hill.
Without technology, you would not have been able to get Sheriff Joe on the Ospreys.
Yeah, that's true. Is that good?
Yes, I think for everybody, I could say yes.
We have some super chats.
All right, super chat from Jack says, you don't necessarily know you have a makeup test at the start. 3rd down is like a second kidney. You know it's there if you need it. And 4th down is dialysis.
Jeez.
Okay. Thanks, Jack.
But then what's 2nd down? I guess 1st and 2nd down are the first kidney?
Yeah.
The 2nd kidney? Okay. Not bad. All right. Anything else? I remain unmoved. I'm happy to. I've already shown I'm willing to accept the good pieces of technology. Let me know if you have them.
Bidet is in the chat. Like a bidet.
I'm bidet curious, but
no.
Haven't made the plunge.
I've got one.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I've never used a bidet, so. Gilles swears by bidets.
Obviously.
I've never used it. Why is that obvious?
I mean, everything we know about you would tell us that would be
a
horrifying occurrence for you.
I've never seen a bidet. Seriously, I've never seen a bidet. Where would you find a bidet? Like
In a toilet.
Is this something people have in their homes?
I have
bidets?
one at my home. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have to get it. You have to get it like.
Yeah, you can get it put in. Yeah, they have it
Okay.
now. Like
It's like an easy attachment, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good for you. I don't cast judgment. I don't use a bidet.
Just go like John Madden, like with the hand with the turducken.
All right. That will do it for this portion of the show. We thank you for watching and listening. And I will tell you now that, as always, we love you. But please stay tuned because we have a nice long interview with Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic. For my money, one of, if not the best, present company excluded, beat writer in the game, a star of NFL media, who has not only insight on the Rams, but also the Eagles, given some of the things that she has been working on. Quickly, a super chat from Jason who says, vests and a sports almanac is Zach Berman Marty McFly.
I would love to go back in time. That's for sure.
You knew the reference,
Why?
though. It's impressive.
The technology would be so much worse.
But think of the
but you
technology
have the
required
technology
to get there.
now
Yeah,
to
right.
go back in time, right? I mean, that's.
If you could make one trip back in time, what would it be?
I would not be doing what Marty McFly did. I'll tell you that. That's not what I would use it for. If I could go back in time, I mean, you can get sentimental with the answer, right? You know, but if I'm being like,
Be yourself.
yeah, so if I take away, you know, like anything that's to do with family and seeing people who are no longer here, yeah, I mean, I would obviously like this is a fairly obvious one. You would, you know, invest in like an IPO of a company that's I don't know. That's probably not the only thing I would do, but like, yeah, if you had the opportunity, if
Forgot that we had already gotten your answer.
Yeah, but I think we've done this already. Yeah, I think we've done
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
You guys
but
have done
there's
this.
other things I would obviously do, but you know, or you would.
Mike
no,
knew. He knew.
no medical. There's medical. You know, I would cure cancer early, or not cure. You know, I would have.
What timeline are you in? Yeah.
I would have remedy. You know, I would have treatments for cancer at an earlier stage. You know, you can go all the way back and have treatments for polio at an earlier stage, right? I'm speaking like practically, not like. So, anyways, you know, I would warn people about certain things that are coming. You know, I would go to. You know,
You change the course of history by doing that.
yeah, exactly. So I would tell people like, you know, get out of New Orleans in 2005 early. You know, there's things like that. There's, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of good you could do for the world that I would do.
Okay.
Including that Apple stock.
Yeah. Most of all.
Not most of all.
All right. Fun episode, as always. Back tomorrow at 2 o'clock with Diniz. So we look forward to that. But for now, please enjoy the insightful, entertaining interview with the great Jourdan Rodrigue. A nice breath of fresh air here on the PHLY Eagles podcast as we are joined now by one of the bright stars of NFL media. You know her as one of the best beat writers in the game for The Athletic. You know her from the NFL Daily podcast, the Heed the Call podcast, and the Play Callers podcast. Jourdan Rodrigue, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for us.
Did you see what I was doing there? I was looking around to see if this person was in the room with me right now. I know this type of material is what
And
you
so
can
humble.
expect from me today.
I do want to start, as much as we are thrilled to have you here, I do kind of want to start wondering if you're going to apologize because the Play Callers series that dropped, 6 fantastic interviews with decision makers across the league, 5 of them with Eagles ties. Alec Hallaby, the assistant GM, Brandon Brown, Ian Cunningham, Kat Hickman, formerly Kat Raish, even John Spytek. I want to know if you are aware the degree to which you caused my dear friend Zach Berman here to lose sleep over you getting all of those interviews.
I did worry about Zach a bit when you texted me. Bo texted me just behind the scenes a little bit. Texted me and was like, "I think you're killing Zach." And I was like, "Oh no," because it was funny. In getting into those interviews, I started laughing because, you know, you'd ask about past mentors or places where they learned a lot and experienced a lot of different things. And almost always they would bring up Howie and the Eagles. And I started thinking, oh my God, did I accidentally stumble into the
Right.
Howie Roseman executive tree? And like, that's what this show should be about. And somehow Howie has incepted me into doing this because that is how good he is. That's why I had a worry. I was like, did Howie somehow plan this entire thing
Right.
without me even realizing in my conscious that he did that? So, yeah, it was it was really funny. I was like, hey, don't pay attention to the last one then, because you got to me before all of them had been scheduled, and we were getting Brandon Brown on the schedule, and I was like, okay, just avert your eyes for the last one.
Go ahead. I know you have lots of questions about those interviews.
I would say, even though they did keep me up at night, they were great. You did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
And as someone who like obsesses over everything about this organization, I learned a lot from it too. So that's a compliment to you. What I'm curious for our viewers, our listeners, what can be learned about the Eagles organization based on speaking to those who worked here and have gone elsewhere? What's, I suppose, a differentiator here that you can only appreciate by understanding what happens elsewhere?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of actually what the original series, which was the documentary about the Shanahan-McVay coaching tree. It reminded me a lot of how those dynamics were in the early days, where they were coaching and everybody had a role, but they were also incubating amongst each other and really challenging each other and pushing each other. I got the sense, and, when you do these interviews, you talk for 30 minutes on camera and you talk for, 30, 45 minutes off camera or throughout the course of preparing for the interview. And some of the background stories of just the challenges that, the problem solving, the ways that dialogue and confrontation, but not in a negative way that you would think that word implies, more so the functional conflict of what that space is actually shapes people and helps people grow. And I think that openness for ideas and argument, as well as agreeing on things, was a trademark of a lot of these people that I interviewed. As they left the building, they already had that tool instead of trying to learn how to develop it as then a manager of other people in other places. It was something that they already had. And it was funny. It kind of bewildered them that they had an advantage in that way, because wasn't this how it was supposed to be? But it's not like that everywhere. And so that's what really stood out to me, because when those young coaches left sort of the not so warm or loving embrace of Kyle Shanahan in Washington, and Mike Shanahan in Washington, they all had this little edge of problem solving and kind of looking around the corner into the why of things that wasn't normal in the buildings they then went into. And it bewildered them as well. Like, wasn't this already supposed to be a quality if you're at this level that you have? And that's kind of, it just really was interesting how much the two ecosystemic storylines reminded me of each other.
Right. You're pressure testing these ideas. And I do think that, like, from what we have heard from inside the Eagles building, it is not a place for hurt feelings, right? Like, you're going to have to deal with these difficult conversations and accept that it is, in theory at least, in service of getting the best results for the organization.
Yeah, it was interesting too. I mean, there's a callus that forms too. These are tough people. I don't know how else to explain it, because you've got people, when we plan these out, we don't know how the season is going to go for any one of these teams that these people that are in this series help to run. And there's like this this very ultra confident toughness about everybody, regardless of the state that their team was in. We don't have to necessarily keep commit. I mean, we do, but they don't necessarily have to keep a commitment. If you're the Cleveland Browns and you're in September and royals of dysfunction are already wrapping itself around your building or you're the Giants and massive decisions are on the horizon, and you don't have to come and do this interview. Like, you could say maybe next year,
Right?
Or let's check again later, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. But there is this confidence of, yeah, we're going to figure it out. And that was really interesting to me, because there's not a fear of failing. And I think that comes directly from working in that building that you guys described. It's just like, you're gonna fail, and there are gonna be years that are awful, and you're gonna make mistakes, and some people might even lose their jobs, but they're gonna keep going because they're so ultra confident in their process, how they see the game, how they understand and imagine the ecosystems that they create and then maintain. And that just oozed through everybody, regardless of where they were at in their season. And you could have had some stress. I mean, it could have come out, and it just didn't, inclusive to those background conversations that I talked about.
Well, we will get to the actual matchup of this in a second, but I do have one more follow-up, because actually you talk about that, and I imagine when you talk to Alec Halaby, that was a point in the Eagles season where it seemed like it was a little bit on shaky ground, and we know that they have turned things around since then. Because he is the one who is still here, I just want to ask you about him. I mean, this is someone who we expect at some point is probably going to leave to become a general manager. What were your takeaways from talking to Alec?
You know what? I read this really great article by a guy named Zach Berman about Alec Halaby as part of my preparation from going into this interview. And I didn't quite know what to expect at first, because I'd heard him talk. He did some interviews because he was on the cycle, getting job interviews last year as well. And I'd heard some interviews, and I think my initial impression was, okay, he carries himself really well. He knows what he's about. He understands, what the context of all of this is that he's experiencing right now. But I was like, man, I really want to know more about how he thinks. And so then I read your article, and you really did a great job of diving into how he thinks and how he sort of views the sport from multiple lenses at the same time. And in print, it can come off, you can look at it in one way, and in print, you can really be clear on that because of the way you wrote it and the way that you were able to talk to him and interview him. But I'm like, okay, can you do it live? Are we going to do this live? And so when we talked, I was just blown away by him, because he is thinking on more, not to sound like too galaxy brain on this, but he is thinking on multiple timelines at one time. And you could see, even through the course of me asking, you can see it. And we didn't do a ton of video on these, but I have all the video and of the full interviews, and you can actually see on his face as we talk how he's thinking about my question in the moment and answering that question to the best of and most detailed of his ability. But then he's also thinking about 16 other things that question has sort of ignited in his brain of like, oh, and then this door leads to this, and this door could lead to this, and then that, and then, but it's all happening at one time. And you can kind of see it all over his face as he's talking. And I think that people who can think like that can 1,000,000% run a building, and particularly with all of the moving parts of every single day of a life in football, to have your brain be able to have the capacity to be in all of those places unilaterally, like that to me absolutely blew me away. So I have no doubt that he's on to ascending things. And but I also, what was cool about him is he's also very happy where he is, because he gets to do a lot. He gets to be in these rooms. He's such a dork about football, right? And like, he gets to be in those rooms, as well as, helping run and manage an organization from an executive level, but like geeking out over cool football at the same time. I mean, that's the dream. So it was interesting. Like I said, very secure, very confident. And that was everybody, but certainly specifically with your question about Alec, that was totally his vibe as well.
Go ahead.
I have more questions about the podcast, but if we want to get to the game.
Well, give one more.
Yeah. So
everyone go listen to the play callers, please.
I know.
So my last one about that before.
Are you getting a cut from that, Jourdan?
It was sponsored by Acura, but I did not get an Acura.
Is a common thread I found through everyone you spoke to was embracing thinking differently. And in a league where I think it could be easy to fall into groupthink, where it could be easy to kind of go with the consensus, do you find that atypical? Do you find those executives you spoke to be different in that regard? And do you think it's organic within them, or do you think it's breeded in this organization?
I think it's multiple things at the same time. So I'll need to put my Halaby hat on here for 1 second to imagine different scenarios at the same time. That was a terrible joke, guys. Oh my God.
Well, it's because you're already wearing
Why did you even have Why did you even have me on today? So I think it is multiple things being true. part of that, I think, is the environment that you're in, Zach, to your point, and the place where you learn, the place where you kind of do your career growing up. I think that is absolutely crucial in shaping how you think and how you see the world of football and then beyond. The point of the show was to seek out those people who had the bright and innovative minds, who were ultra confident in their own very unique set of skills, but who maybe people didn't know as well because they're the guy or woman behind the other person or behind two other people. Demetrius Washington in Minnesota, he's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's right-hand person, but like you would never know. And so many of the algorithmic modeling and the projections and the things that they use technology-wise and all of the things that they use in their draft process now, you would never know exist because you only see the product and the result of the process, less so maybe the process itself. So that was part of the point of the show, was to kind of dig a little bit deeper and amplify people who are different, who think uniquely, who are still, rising and ascending in this league, but who, 5 years from now, you're going to say, oh yeah, that person was talking about this back then, and now everybody in the league is doing it this way. And I think that's where those two spaces meet, is like, it was an accident getting all of the Howie Roseman club, but it was very telling of how the Eagles do things, and how the operation does things, because those people all had to have that quality embraced and grown somewhere before they could actually get, have this confidence of talking about it the way that they did, and applying certain things of their own personalities and their own unique vision in their own separate buildings. It had to be embraced somewhere else first and not stifled. And so I think those are the two truths of it, is, it's a yes to both phases of your question, I think.
And by the way, we do appreciate the background there. You have the little thing for the play callers there behind you. So make sure that everybody listens to that series. Now let's talk about the game a little bit. Is it as simple as stopping Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua means stopping this Rams offense? I think Puka Nacua is targeted at the highest rate of any wide receiver in the NFL. Cooper Kupp is number 2 or number 3, depending on if you count Rashee Rice. Is it just that simple?
I have yet to see this offense function without those two playing at the level that they're playing. Now, if you're the Rams, the other element of this is, for the last 10 games, they've been trying to get their run game like really firing on all cylinders in the same way that it was last season. That became their ultimate weapon, was Kyren Williams, and running a diverse set of concepts. They became a gap team at the beginning of the year, and they were running a bunch of duo and counter. And then they reverted again, and now they're running like their outside zone out of pistol and all these things. And they became this like amoeba, like shape-shifting run game that was going to just like hit you in the face. And that really was something that sustained them as, Cooper was on and off the field last year, and Puka really emerged as the superstar. But this offense has typically wanted to go through 2 top receivers. And when it was at its apex with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, or when it was at its apex in like that brief glimmer of a window with Cooper and Puka healthy last year, you really saw, okay, if you're going to defend this team, you're going to have to stop the run, and you're going to have to figure out a way to at least mitigate some of what those guys can do to you, and force Matthew Stafford to like get the ball to Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell, and sort of an absent Colby Parkinson this year, but Tyler Higbee last year. But they don't have that fallback this year of that run game yet. And they think they will have it. That's been the emphasis over the last couple of weeks, especially getting their interior offensive linemen back and healthy. But it just hasn't, I haven't seen it. I have no data about this, right? Because they have not showed it. They've been like woefully inconsistent in that phase. And so they are one-dimensional right now. They don't want to be. And, like I said, I see progress. And so this is a team that could start to roll, and they have this time of year for the last 2 years. But I have not seen actual proof this year that there's dimension past, okay, Cooper and Puka are going to, light the scoreboard up.
Yeah, it's interesting. The numbers say second in rush success rate, but 31st in explosive run rate. So it's like just very blocking just what is given to you and nothing explosive.
Yes.
It's actually kind of familiar to Eagles fans as like the reason for signing Saquon Barkley, a guy who can turn those, 5-yard runs into 40-yard runs. It maybe is what missing in that offense. But go ahead, Zach.
On the other side of the ball, so I know we're jumping around here, but I'm fascinated by this.
Love it.
And is that for the past decade, before every Rams game, we'd walk in the locker room, we'd go to the back right corner, and we'd talk to Jason Kelce or Brandon Brooks about how they're obsessed that week with Aaron Donald, right? And it was something between Jeff Stoutland and Jason Kelce. They took a lot of pride in the way they defend or the way they blocked Aaron Donald. How are the Rams different without Aaron Donald?
I know, they made him so mad. It was great. I think that's the only offensive line that didn't let him have a sack or something like that. There's this crazy stat.
He talked about this offseason, and he said it was like, and then Kelce then responded to it. It was like the plan going in was we are going to double team Aaron Donald on every single snap, and it doesn't matter if that means a running back has to block a defensive end. We are not going to let him beat us.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy too? Just kind of to go on like a little rabbit hole on that for a second, because I love talking about Aaron Donald. It's crazy. Everyone copied that. Once the Eagles did it one time, everyone started copying almost to a T exactly what they were doing. It's just the Eagles were so much better at doing it than everybody else. Like Aaron would talk about how like, oh my God, like 3 guys slid to me. It reminded, but it's some of these teams, it did not matter. He was going to eat you alive anyway. Yeah. But with the Eagles, I think it was sort of this mutual respect thing that not only could they come up with the blueprint, but they also were the only ones that could run that blueprint effectively against him, because he would just destroy every other team that tried. So this defensive line, first of all, it's been so weird at first not having him in there, and the enjoyment and the just peacefulness that he approached last season with was very cool and inspiring on a human level, because he soaked every moment in, even the bad times, even the bad moments. Like, he was so zen. It was crazy. I was like, what's going on? Once you realize this was his final lap, it was just a really cool thing to watch him absorb and process everything about the sport and really observe, like really notice things and like be present and all of those things, which was very cool on a human level. But this defensive line is so much fun, you guys. I know there were a lot of questions coming out about, trading up for Braden Fiske and the Rams' first round pick.
It's an oldie.
Since 2016 in Jared Verse and, Kobie Turner, and what's he going to look like without Aaron Donald next to him, and Bobby Brown in his contract year, can he take a step forward? And what the hell does Michael Hoyt do? All of these, Byron Young following up a good rookie season, and all of these questions were so valid coming in, and they were so valid in the overtime loss against Detroit, where Detroit just ran it down their throats and won, and against the Cardinals, where they could not contain Kyler Murray to save their lives. And these embarrassing moments happened to this very young group, and all of a sudden they kind of woke up and they started really putting in these extra hours with defensive line coaches Giff Smith and AC Carter, and they bonded with each other and they became more of a unit versus kind of solo rushing or hero rushing, like they were just trying to like be in the NFL, right? And then all of a sudden they took a step backward and they simplified how they were thinking about rushing the passer and how they were thinking about stopping the run and what they were thinking about their gap integrity, and it worked. And this is a group that's for real. And you see it week over week. It's almost simpler. You never don't want to have Aaron Donald, but in terms of the equation of pass rushing, it's almost simpler for all of these young players to not have to account for somebody who changes the math so dramatically, because you're automatically entering like an unknown number into the equation at that point, and trying to figure out what to do around him. Instead, it's like, okay, this is my job, go do the job. And like, it works for these guys. And this is a group that they've really come to life. They all like each other, which is cool. They all have fun together. And they are trash talking. And this is the biggest test. I'm excited. This is the matchup I'm the most excited about, aside from anything Vic Fangio is doing right now. This is what I'm so excited about, because this is actually the first real test since they were embarrassed earlier in the season. against some bona fide dudes on the other side that will really put them to their limits. But they're going to be seeing a very different type of assignment and a very different type of, I guess, multiplicity with this group, because you're not just focusing on one guy. You do have to account for a lot of other players at this point.
Eagles fans very aware of Jared Verse as the head-to-head for Quinyon Mitchell in the race for Defensive Player of the Year. Zach, I know you need to get to Nick, so I will let you go because there is some Eagles news. So why don't you go? I'm going to keep talking to Jourdan.
Oh, what happened?
It hasn't been released yet.
Oh,
but
breaking news! Zach Berman.
He's on top of it, so he's going to go check in with Nick.
He always is.
He is. Speaking of those defensive linemen, Verse a little bit, but Fiske for sure. It feels like the Rams, and I know that you did the wonderful Finding Rams series, so I know that you have insight on this. The Rams have had more success than anybody else in the league with drafting olds. These older players who, to me, are like blaring red flags. Why do you think that is for them specifically?
Well, so I have a fun theory, and then I also have the real answer. So the real answer is that they really trust their medical staff. They trust their evaluation. Reggie Scott's been with the organization almost longer than anybody else has been, back from when they were in St. Louis. And I know, I was like, oh, hi, Bo. And then the light changed a little bit, you know, so it's like you got a sunbeam across your face. That's nice. Nicely done. Good production.
Yes, very nice.
And, they really trust and count on their medical staff. They also are a team that understands, other than very select few players, it turns itself over almost completely every few years. So it's like, okay, we need this window with these guys, and trying to maximize that window, understanding that they move quickly when they feel, other than a select few cases, and I think Cooper Kupp is one of them, when they feel like guys are just the toll of the playing in the league is starting to, come across their bodies. So that's the reason why they feel comfortable doing it. They like the maturity and the experience as well, from a lot of these players, and how, things just seem to, they've played a lot of football, so things just seem to make sense a little bit more. And because they like that and they can trust their medical, that's kind of the reason why they like to find those places where other teams are probably staying away from. The other thing, my theory, this is my fun theory, is that Sean McVay is annoyed by young people.
Oh, I like this.
So he wants you to be like this high mentally to ride the roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like, okay, you just need people who are a little bit more mature. Like you see him go after like the veteran quarterback and the veteran backups,
he's got
and
no
like
time for that.
Yeah, he's like, these damn kids. No, I just think I genuinely, that's my theory. So I'm not reporting this, so nobody put it out in an article or whatever. But my theory is that I just think he doesn't have time for people who are just like a step or two behind. He just wants everyone to be there, and then you can build from here versus down here. So that's kind of where my personal theory lies on that.
I like that. All right, you have been super generous with your time. I have like 2 or 3 quick ones for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Rams defense, aside from the defensive line, Chris Shula is interesting to us in Philadelphia because the Eagles interviewed him when they ended up hiring Sean Desai. Obviously, we know how that went. They brought in Vic Fangio. The defense is playing as well as it has in a very long time. But what is sort of the identity of a Chris Shula defense schematically going up against this Eagles team? And will they be able to stop a run-first offense?
And Sean Desai is here in Los Angeles, by the way.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and
awkward.
He works specifically with the offense, which is kind of a cool role. He's sort of like a tendency guy, just really helping upload some of the defensive things that other teams are doing in sort of a problem-solving role with Sean.
God, that's such an awkward dynamic in the building between him and Shula. Desai's like, I got the job, Chris, you didn't, but Shula's like, yeah, but you got fired and I'm here now. Like,
if you met Chris though, so when
it's okay. Sean Desai is very used to awkward situations in the building over the last 12 months.
It's just thinking about like how Chris's personality is. So like when people would be like, okay, so what's, who's Chris Shula? Because he's been with McVay forever. They were college besties and all of that. And he worked his way up. He is related to the Shula family. And, but he would never tell people his last name. Like he worked his way up through the ranks, position by position, trying to coach every position on the defense that he could over a long period of time, like almost 8 years before he finally like put himself out there for this job. He wouldn't even, ask. He would just sort of go to work, which I really admire about him. But if you met Chris and you knew his personality, remember when the movie Barbie came out?
This is good that Zach is
Chris.
gone because this would lead to a whole thing with him and me. He hasn't seen it. He has to see it. It's this.
I know,
it's
but
this
I can count on you,
that
Bo.
He's trying to promote. It's okay. Go ahead.
I can count on you, Bo. I know I can.
Of
so
course.
I'm glad that we're going in this direction. So I just want someone said, okay, this is Chris. His job is defense. Like that's kind of things just roll right off him, right? Like there would be no awkwardness with Chris Shula and Sean or anyone. But Shula, what I really like, I spent the entire summer in training camp and into the fall, even the early parts of the fall, trying to figure out like what is it that this guy, what is his it factor? Like what is the thing that he does that makes him right for this job, first of all. But then DCs, and Sean has always needed or wanted to have a DC with like some sort of defining edge or some sort of defining quality. And particularly out of this coaching family with, the Fangio system and some of that language and all of that. Well, Chris, I could not find it. And I was trying to figure out like, what is that thing? And as I watched, and so I'm like, okay, it's on me for not seeing it, right? And me, I like to dig in as far into the weeds as possible on some of this stuff. And I started to really realize watching them just methodically repair areas of their defense piece by piece without any panic or any discomfort and just fully like immerse. Okay, after week 3, guys, we really got to fix this defensive line. We got to get these guys up to speed faster. We got to simplify things. We got to get them playing faster and physical and more together. Okay, hone in on that. Okay, week 5 and onward, guys, our secondary is a disaster. We have to make some personnel adjustments. We have to play our coverages a little bit differently. We'd like to play more, match man coverage, match zone coverage versus just this, this shell to protect everybody. And we'd like to play a more full iteration of what Chris's vision for this back in 2020 when he identified Brandon Staley for Sean McVay, what his vision would be for this defense. Okay, so that fix those things. And then now you're starting to see them pay more attention to the middle of the defense and moving around some personnel. Christian Roseboom is playing the best football of his entire life. Omar Spates is an undrafted free agent who's really ascending and making some changes there. Doing different things with their rush structure or with their pass rush structures and just the different packages that now they're reinstalling and applying once they cut everything down and simplified things. Okay, you have this guy, Michael Hoyt, who can play a bunch of different roles and do a bunch of different jobs for you. Well, what if you made him sort of like this Andrew Van Ginkel type of role in your cheetah package where, he could simulate a lot of your pressure. He can help you with some of your overloaded fronts, but then also he can drop and like clog some of the timing routes in the middle of the field or do different things that are confusing and concerning for a quarterback. And I started to realize as they started doing these little fiddling with the roster and with the scheme over the course of weeks, I was like, okay, that's what Chris's thing is. That's his it factor. He is the ultimate setup guy. He is the ultimate like I am going to find what you're good at and put you there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what is cool because they've had like the loud personality on as DC, and loud being a good thing, loud meaning not vocally, but loud, like you are a brand, like, or you want to be a brand in the case of Brandon Staley, but like, or you are, Wade MFing Phillips, or you are freaking Raheem Morris and you're a head coach and like all this stuff. Well, Chris is really quiet and he just likes to like fiddle and like build stuff and like make stuff and like set things up for his players. And it's just really interesting to me that is how the dynamic now is. And it's working. This defense has played really well through the month of October and first couple weeks of November. That was a really long way of answering your question. I'm so sorry.
To me that he wanted to build a brand, but that's a topic for a different time. I have a Jourdan question for you. We like to do something called Peck Nest Migrate, which is very similar to other games that people might play. Peck is like, we'll call it, it's like a kiss. Nest is like a marry. Migrate, you're getting rid of something. I want to know between writing, narrative podcasts, and then like let's call them the fun podcasts, how would you peckness migrate those three?
That's so mean. What a mean question. I can have it all.
You can have it all. You're Jourdan Rodrigue. You can do whatever you want. You're the star.
No. Writing is my first love, first and foremost. So I nest writing. It is like why I feel like I'm, on the planet to try to just grow and develop in that space and just try to like get better with everything, especially all the enterprisal or the bigger feature stuff. I hope I can be doing that full time someday, writing those big picture analysis and enterprise stories. Peck, I would probably say like doing the play callers narrative podcast or migrate, I guess
Migrate's
would be
get rid of.
Yeah, probably that. I loved doing it. It almost killed me.
Stressful.
So, yeah, I loved doing it though. I had a really great team that I was working with, and if
that
the
is
right
also
story,
writing. Like it is, you're writing.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, that was a ton of writing, which I loved that part of it, and the interviewing part was incredible. Also, I feel like I'm learning more this year about balance than I ever have learned, and so for me,
as you are busier than ever.
Yeah, just like what to add that makes me happy in order to like kind of just like leave that flow state every once in a while and just do something like that's not even related to projects or stuff that I'm working. And so I've loved doing the shows, the fun shows with Greg and with Dan and Mark. It's just been like an absolute joy for me. And so that would be my peck probably.
Okay.
And I want all of it. So just I'm greedy, but just if I were gonna have to pick one to throw out.
Some enterprising company hopefully can make that happen for you because that's what you deserve. All right, I have one last question. This is the most important question of the interview, Jourdan. The Eagles, thanks to a series of management mishaps, let go of a very promising prospect and potential, I don't want to say future Hall of Famer, but that timeline does exist. How is our friend Dylan McMahon doing in Los Angeles?
This was your guy, right?
Listen, I can't take solo credit for it. They did draft him in the 6th round, but I mean, the eyes, the tape, it all backs it up.
I would say good in the sense that he's
still there.
He's there, and he was a healthy scratch for this last game, or an inactive for this last game. But there's a positive on that.
Keep him on the roster. Yeah.
That means you're on the roster, man. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, they clearly see him as a developmental guy
that they
guy
like.
In
space, man. Get him down. Get him on the 2nd level. He's gonna be leading the way on screens.
That's what there was a time where, so Steve Avila, their left guard, he really unlocks most of their screen game, and he's very gifted at that because he's got like this very rare combination of size and speed that he can, put you on your ass, but then all of a sudden he's like 20 yards downfield in a blink. And so when he was out, they were trying out different players to put in that role because they just didn't have a screen game. And so they were trying out different players. And so I was watching some of the blocking, and they had this like little ball of energy who was a center at USC, Justin Dietich, and he ultimately got the job. But it was also like Dylan was right in the mix there. And I was like, my God, is it just me? Or like, are these guys just like bigger and faster than ever? That's a whole podcast for another time, Bo. I know we'd love to get in the weeds on that. But the way that some of these massive people can move at this point is just, it's mind blowing to me.
All right. Well, Jourdan, you have been extremely
little good
generous.
news, bad news for you there, Bo.
That's okay. The timeline is long. It's a long career ahead. And the Eagles ended up releasing Alberto Quigbenam, who they could have done that in August and kept Dylan McMahon. That's a story for another time. Well, we promised we weren't going to talk about Alberto on this show anymore. Okay. Jourdan, you have been extremely generous. The Sickos, you can follow Jourdan on Twitter, on Blue Sky now. Read her at The Athletic. Listen to her at all her various podcast places. Jourdan, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I could have talked way longer, but I appreciate you.
Me too. We could have done the whole episode.
I know,
I'm jealous
and I
that Zach's going to get to say hi to you on Sunday. It's his favorite. You should know it's his favorite place in the world, SoFi. He loves it.
I know he like last time he was here, he really made like quite a home for himself in like he got like the corner press box seat, like
Okay.
the one that's sort of at an angle, so you get the great corner end zone, all 22 view.
Okay.
And it's like he didn't even mind. A lot of people avoided it SoFi, which is for all its beauty, very structurally confusing in different aspects. He didn't mind that like the aisle that people walk up and down to go to the bathroom or get food was right behind him, because this was the corner, right? Like this is the catbird seat for Zach Berman, where he can watch everything happen, and he has space on his left because there's no one to the left, so he can set his whole setup and all of his diligent
Okay.
note taking. And I went over there and I was just like, you're the freaking man. Like, look at you, like I love that guy. And he's always so nice. Every
big
time he
ass.
sees me, he like talks to me in detail about something I wrote in like a very kind and encouraging way. Like you just don't get guys like you two.
He's reading everything.
You two are just absolute gems of people, and I hope you know that. And two of my favorite people on this planet in this business. So thank you for having me. Appreciate
You're
it.
too kind. Somebody throw the bag at this woman, please. Let's go. Jourdan, thank you so much. And I guess I'll see you in the off season.
I appreciate you, Bo. I'll see you soon.
All right. Back with more on the PHLY Eagles podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.